Hi there, Zam here for NerdTube. These are my thoughts and spoilers of the Lioness Season 2, Episode 3, Along Came a Spider. This episode just changed everything I had regarding how I felt the direction of this show was going to go from what we saw last week. We find out this week that Josefina Carrillo, the new Lioness for this particular season, is really not who she seems to be. She's been basically playing Joey Saldana's character, along the whole time, and because of that, things have come to a head, and I'm going to get to that a little bit later. So we'll talk about some of the earlier moments in this episode. First up, regarding Jo, one thing I forgot to mention last week was how difficult her life is, being a family woman, a mother, a wife, a parent, and also being this military person. It's a life that's I mean, the job itself is obviously very prosperous because you can see the home she's living in. At the same time, she doesn't get to spend much time seeing her kids develop and grow up. She has a good relationship with her family and her husband as well, but she's in and out pretty much, within a few days of just being at home. There was a funny scene though, because her and her husband have a good relationship and they're still quite active in their sex lives. They were shagging. They end up getting caught by their oldest daughter. Happens to the best of us. At some point, as either a parent or as a kid, we've been in that situation. So it was funny, and it just highlights the norms of family life and how her life herself, Jo's life, is really not that normal outside of the family bubble, so to speak. We get to our delegates as well. We're talking people like Morgan Freeman's character of Edward Mullins, and of course Nicole Kidman's character of Caitlin Mead. They're all talking about, what's going on with the Chinese and the cartels. Things like this usually tend to be more of a hush-hush issue for the American public because it's happening far away in other parts of the world. But this is happening on America's doorstep. This is happening in Mexico. It's bordering the country. So if America decides to use any sort of military to combat the situation of politicians being kidnapped like we saw last week, it could make headline news. It could stir up a lot of issues for the country. There are obviously lots of Mexican Americans in America as well. It might cause unnecessary division, and maybe another congressperson could get kidnapped in the process. It's all very sticky, very tricky, very trivial shit that these delegates have to deal with. Nothing is truly made clear, but there was a moment which kind of shows you the differences between the two contingents. The delegates, the CIA and all those people, and the military guys. Because once Josephine Carrillo joins her new crew, she doesn't really get to know them too well. They don't really want to know her. There's no real hostility. They're not that trivial. But they just want to get on with the job. If you survive, we might get to know you a little bit better and so on. But they just want to get on with things. And we see a moment where one of the members of our new team makes some lobster bisque or something like that, and it's very simple looking chowder of some sort. Nothing too fancy. And her new team of hard asses are all eating this food, and it's fair enough. I guess it's better than nothing. But then we cut to the CIA and them having a meal, and they're in a very fancy restaurant, probably Michelin star, and they're eating some of the best cuts of meat and whatever, and they're served really well by all these well mannered and well staffed, well trained waiters and waitresses at this very top notch restaurant. And you can see the differences. The people who make the decisions and feel their life is very hard because they are playing chess with other people's lives, like these military guys' lives. It's an interesting sort of dynamic when you see those lives and those lives. It was very well done in my opinion. But going on to Josephine, Jo herself doesn't believe Josephine because she thinks that Josephine has something to hide. The fact that she doesn't know her uncle, the uncle that she will be interrogating if she now that she's decided to be a lioness. the fact that she can't allegedly speak Spanish. You know, she like this is like unbelievable as far as Joe's concerned. Like, this makes no sense. She does feel that Josephine, this new lioness, is hiding something. Now, Josephine herself has to go through some training. Being a military personnel, she has done boots on the ground training, obviously, prior to being a pilot. But she's doing other stuff as well. She's doing more sort of SAS SWAT style, training, going into like organizations and taking people out very quickly, very efficiently, at the same time being in scenarios which are very loud and volatile at the same time, and having to deal with all the stress and pressure and all of that. She does okay, but not necessarily great, whilst learning all these new tricks. At the end of the day, she's a pilot. She's not a boots on the ground person, so this is new to her. But once again, Joe, whilst training her, does feel that Josephine is holding back stuff, and so they interrogate her at one particular point, Joe and some of Josephine's new crewmates, and they get it out of her that, yeah, she does know her uncle, she does speak Spanish, and if anything, she is more of a mole for her family in the military than vice versa. And because of that, she's going to be kind of reprimanded and all of that, and it might not be very good for her. She's already been dishonorably discharged as part of her cover to go back to her family in Mexico to integrate the cartel, but that's just part of the cover. But this time that dishonorable discharge might be for real. So there's more layers coming into this, and basically she's been put in a position now that, okay, look, we the military know that you're full of shit, and you're not really working for us, you're more working for your uncle. Now, do you love your country? Are you willing to put your dad in jail? Are you willing to put your uncle in jail? Are you willing to get information out of your sister, your mum, your cousins? All of these things. And she's been put in this really difficult predicament, and you can see it's breaking her down a little bit. But at the end of the episode, she does make a phone call to her father, and she's breaking down, which makes sense considering she's been dishonorably discharged as part of her cover from the military. So her father could probably understand while she's breaking down, while she's talking to her dad. But that's how the episode ends, and it looks like she's gonna have to fuck over her family for her country. Yeah, I mean, that's patriotism for you, I guess. But she put herself in that position. Like, I mean, she didn't have to take up the Lioness program, but she did. And so by doing so, she ended up being the spy for her family, and now she's gonna have to be the spy for the military regarding her family. Yeah, how the tables have turned. It's gonna be very interesting to see where we go next week with all of this. Whose side is she truly going to be on? Is she going to try and play both sides? Will she live now because of this? Will the writers let her live? Because when you're in a lioness, the chances of living are quite slim. So we'll see how it all pans out. So yeah, it's just interesting watching this episode and the twists and turns we got. I'm very much looking forward to seeing where we go next. I really am. This is a great show. I'm going to give this episode an 8 out of 10. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to NerdTube, the greatest social media channel you never heard of. Take care now. Bye-bye.